I just don't get it when people take risks when buying gold and silver. I just don't understand why you would put your entire stack at risk of being burgled, of being robbed, and just generally getting ripped off online. There are risks that you can take which are risk reward. Is it worth it? Probably not. Yet people do it all the time, and I see it every almost day on social media. So I want to talk about how you can stop doing that, how you can avoid taking unnecessary risks when buying your gold and silver, and also when storing it and owning it. There's a lot to talk about in this video, so strap in for another precious metal ramble. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a very warm welcome to you all joining me for another precious metal ramble, where today I want to talk about the safety and security of your gold and silver stack, and how you can stay safe when buying this stuff, storing this stuff, owning this stuff. I see time and time again people just almost in a jokingly way flagrantly taking risks, and it really gets my ire up for sure when I see people who talk the talk about being safe and secure but then just do dumb things with their precious metals. It's very, very risky, and you only need to look at a fantastically enlightening video but pretty scary video shared by Silver Dragons. If you don't know who he is, then what rock have you been hiding under? Where he shares the story of a stacker whose house was burgled and safe opened and a very large proportion of his stack taken. And I'm not here to criticize that particular individual. There was some targeting going on, but there are lessons to be learned, and that stacker shared some lessons in that video about his home setup, his security, and what perhaps he could have maybe done better and how to avoid those situations. But it starts by not taking risks when buying gold and silver. So there is a whole suite of things that I want to talk about in today's video, and it'd be great to get your hints, tips, and tricks on staying safe and having home security for your stack, or whether, for example, you use a safety deposit box. There are plenty of different options out there, and is going to be different for every single person. So what's right for one person is not necessarily right for others. So without going into specifics of your setups, because that's one of the surefire ways to get yourself in a little bit of hot water, let me know down in the comments about your safety and security of buying precious metals. So the reason I want to talk about this today was there are constantly examples that I see of risks being taken out on social media land. And that starts with the purchasing of precious metals. Now, we all love a great deal, and we all want to buy this stuff at as cheap a price as possible. The overarching kind of sentiment that I've always said is if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. And like 3 or 4 years ago, if somebody was selling a gold coin at spot price or underneath, I'd say that's a bit too good to be true, because at the time premiums were higher. But now, for example, there are deals happening every day, and you see silver and gold being offered sometimes even as low as spot or underneath spot. And ultimately, sometimes it can be a little bit of a risk, depending on the platform, depending on where you're buying from. And ultimately, I don't understand this when people are looking to commit to buying something like a 1 ounce gold coin, for example. You know, you're talking at £1,900 spot price, $2,500 spot price. People take inordinate amount of risk for saving $10 or £5, and they'll buy from some randomer on the internet, and they don't necessarily think it through. So I'm here to kind of share some of my biggest fears that I would have if I was just some random buyer of silver and gold, and I was putting it out there on the internet that I was a buyer of silver and gold to strangers. You're giving them your name and address. If you're buying from somebody online and you don't have, for example, a PO box, that's definitely one way that you can go about protecting your anonymity in a certain way. But at the same time, you have to kind of give some information away that you're buying and what you're buying. And, you know, it's really not that great. If you think about it, there's some horrible things that could happen. Like if somebody puts up a deal on Reddit or Bookface or whatever it's called. I've been de-bookie Instaface for whatever, how long it is now, 12 years, I think. Even before my gold and silver days, I couldn't stand that platform. But the point is that you could just be falling victim to a scammer or a even worse, criminal. And that happens, and it has happened. And people have been targeted. And in times of hardship, when things are down, people resort to crime. Unfortunately, that is just the way of the world. It's not nice. It's not what we want to see. But coin dealers have been targeted, bullion businesses have been targeted, bullion stackers have been targeted, and you can see this story that's been shared by Silver Dragons over on his YouTube channel, as if I remember a link in the description, not that you'll need it because he's the biggest channel in our sphere of influence. The stacker in question, I'm not calling out the stacker, I'm not casting shade on the stacker. It's a really unfortunate circumstance, but I think from a brief summary, basically it's suspected that it was some tradesmen that were working on his house when he was moving house. They saw his big safe and they've come back when they knew he wasn't in, and they've taken their time and they've been able to get into his safe, not fully open it, but tip over a gigantic safe. He had one of these massive, massive safes that you get in America, these big old boys with the guns in as well. And they pried open a little bit of it and got most of the stack out. But the point here is that you can have as big a safe as you want. You can have the be-all and end-all of safes, but if they've got enough time and volition, they're going to get in it. They're going to find your stack, and especially if they know about it in the first place. So it starts by saying safe when buying. And what do you do on that side? Well, yeah, everyone likes a good deal and you want to make sure that you get the right price for your gold and silver for sure. But sometimes it's worth paying that £5 more for your ounce of gold or £2 more for your sovereign to buy from either somebody who's really reputable and has a big presence online. If you've got to look at the risk reward. I think it was a Silver Forum member called Dicker. I want to give him credit if it is, and if it's not him, I'll give credit to the other person who did it. But they put up a fantastic post, which was, if you look at anybody who's buying and selling, or more specifically selling precious metals on any platform, it doesn't have to be the Silver Forum, it could be any platform. If they've been doing it for a very long time and they've got a lot of sales and they've got a lot of feedback and they've got, almost like a little pseudo business going, or perhaps they are a little business, then the risk reward of them messing about and, stealing some people's money, or God forbid, going and burgling somebody, the risk reward there is just not really up for it. Yeah, some criminals will take high risks for low rewards, but generally speaking, 99.9% of people are good. It's the bad eggs that you've got to be careful of. So if you're buying from those established people, the risks are lower, but at the same time, there are inherent risks to everything you do in life, and you've got to measure those risks. So, for example, buying from a bullion dealer, whilst we all hate the dealers and their premiums and what they buy, maybe if it's gold that you're buying, and you can see online that you can buy, a bunch of sovereigns from a dealer for 2% over spot, but you can buy them from Joe Blogs in his bedroom on the internet that you don't know anything about for 1% over spot. Is that 1% really worth saving to potentially risk having some stranger on the internet have your name and address, and the fact that you like gold, depending on how much you're buying as well? You just never know what's going to happen to that person. Maybe that person will turn into a criminal. Maybe that person's computer will be stolen and they'll have a whole bunch of data on there that's not great. It's scary stuff, and you've got to think about this. You've got to protect yourself a little bit. How do you do that? It's very difficult online. So taking the right steps to protect yourself is very important online before you even get started. Now, in terms of home security setups and having the right kind of security at home, there's some simple tips that I've always adhered to for things like home security and safes. First up, don't take any photographs of your safe and share it online going, look at how amazing my safe is. That's just asking for trouble. Also, do a good bit of research before you buy a safe. Don't buy a safe that you can find a video online with people opening it in 5 minutes. It's not a wise idea. If somebody burgles you and they go, oh, it's that safe. Okay, let's have a quick look. Oh, right, yeah, that's how you do it. And they're in. The whole point of a safe is it's not infallible. It's meant to delay. You're meant to have delay tactics on these kind of things. It's really, really important to have a good safe, but also not one that's very obvious. The beauty of that giant, or the opposite, the non-beauty of that big giant safe shown in the Silver Dragons video is it was too big to hide. It was literally just in a room. And whilst you might think, well, hiding a safe isn't that, great, they'll still find it. But if it's in a nook and cranny around a corner underneath a floorboard somewhere, the access is difficult. The access is different. If it's bolted to the floor or the walls, I think the stacker in that video said he hadn't got around to bolting it to the floor or walls, so it would have been a lot more difficult for them to get in it had they not been able to tip it over. So there are definitely some lessons to be learned from that stacker. It's well worth a watch, that video. Go and check it out. I'm probably not doing it as much justice as I would like to, but it is important to factor these things in. But a lot of that is secondary, because ultimately, if you're ever in a position where you're having to rely on your safe from stopping the criminals getting your stack, then there's something that's gone wrong along the way. There's something that's gone wrong. And whether it's because you've been talking to your mates down the pub about your brilliant gold purchases that you've had and someone's overheard you, followed you home, or perhaps you've been buying from just random strangers on the internet and unfortunately you've pushed that luck one too many times and you've suddenly bought from somebody who's a bit unscrupulous, it's just risky. And I don't like risk personally, and I know a lot of other people out there don't like risk personally as well. And it sometimes can be too good to be true. If it is too good to be true, that's the biggest warning sign that it is not above board. So yeah, staying safe is really, really important. Now, I put up a little sort of article on the Silver Forum lately. I'll put a link to it in the description box below, which talks a little bit more about staying safe when buying on social media. Some of my top hints and tricks. I'll just quickly summarize it. If you're buying from somebody, look at their profile. Just ask the questions. If somebody's all legit and above board, they are not going to worry about you asking for references. They're not worried about you looking at their profile, finding out their feedbacks. If they've just done only buying and then suddenly they're selling thousands and thousands of gold, then that's not great. If they're literally only contributions on the platform that they're on is to come along and try and sell and they've done nothing else, you ask yourself, is it worth kind of risking yourself and your anonymity or your protection, your security from buying from somebody like that? In my opinion, no, it's completely not. There are other ways that you can stay safe. You can use intermediaries. Now, there's a reason I haven't been really plugging my service in this video. I could have led with it going, you need to stay safe by buying from me. That feels disingenuous, but there are other options out there if you want to buy from intermediaries. That is a definite thing that you can do, but it does seem disingenuous for me just to shamelessly plug it. The point here is that you need to do what's right for you. You can't just have a boilerplate, one thing fixes all. PO boxes are a thing. So in the US, they're a lot cheaper than the UK. Unfortunately, in the UK, they are very expensive. I think it's like 400 and something, 450 quid for a redirection PO box, which comes straight to you, or a collection from depot box is like 300 and something pounds. But it's not a great deal if you're buying a lot of gold and silver in the grand scheme of things and you want to make sure that you're safe and that information doesn't get out to people. You can have that PO box in whatever name you want. It doesn't have to be your name, and then when people send it to you, it's just to that PO box, and you're a lot safer. For example, another quick tip is don't use your username as your real name. I see that so many times. I think people, why would you do that? People just take these extra risks when they need to, and or when they think it's fine to do so, and it's just not needed. I don't know. It just really annoys me sometimes. Have a look as well about what these contributions are. There's numerous examples of people who jump onto various different platforms and they are just belligerent, they are just like angsty, and you've got to ask yourself, if something does go wrong, I want to deal with somebody who I know is going to look after me. I've had a few times where I've bought stuff and it hasn't arrived promptly, and then the people, just being very honest and get in touch with them, and they go, I'm very sorry, I was poorly the other day, couldn't get to post office. It's just about the dealings with them. How are they dealing with you? The interactions, the communications, making sure everybody's on the same page. Or if it has been posted and there's a delay with raw mail, God forbid that happens all the time, just keeping those line of communications open is really good. But if somebody's just a belligerent arsehole, excuse the French, and they're just like, well, it's not my problem, it's yours. Or if somebody's selling and they've got ridiculous terms and conditions that goes, it's nothing to do with me once you've paid, it's barely even my responsibility to get it to the post office. It's just like, whatever, go sling your hook, mate. Honest to God, it's just ridiculous, these people who are over optimistic in what they do. But unfortunately, people take the risks on them. I beggar's belief that people will do this. There's a moral responsibility. There is a legal responsibility and a moral one. If you're buying legally from just third parties on the internet, you don't have consumer rights. But there's a moral responsibility here. And personally, I'm sort of different because I'm sort of a business as well, so I personally guarantee anything. I also have third-party insurance for goods in transit, so I'm sort of doubly covered when buying and selling things. But not everybody can afford that, not everybody needs that, not everybody can warrant that with the amount of trading that they might do. So, for these kind of people just to take these extra risks on thousands of pounds worth of precious metals and have no security in the background doesn't make any sense to me at all. But it's the world we live in, unfortunately. Everybody's after a quick buck. And I see it more and more with the young people out there. So people who just perhaps have no real world experience. They haven't been screwed over by somebody in the past. I've been screwed over, not necessarily by precious metal people, but I've been screwed over by a computer company. I bought a computer. It failed. It was crap, and they absolutely fleeced me for about 800 quid. I was very close to taking them through to small claims court for the entire amount. I eventually got a fair proportion of my money back, but still down 800 quid because they're just shit. And that was my fault because I didn't do enough research on them. I thought I could trust a certain brand. I was wrong. But, you know, that's a lesson for another time, and that, you know, maybe a video for a different channel. But the point here is that you get this, everybody's a victim of it. Everybody can look at something and go, that's right for me. I want that. And then actually it's the wrong thing. You should have spent a little bit more money or gone with a different tact. Or, you know, people even make decisions on the fact that it can be next day shipping when, you know, is it really going to be a better thing than to wait 5 days? You know, they pay for UPS global international shipping €100 or whatever it is for something when they could just be standard shipping and it's just as secure, and there's this sort of FOMO of things and this illusion of security and safety when it's not great. The other thing that I haven't really talked on is like being safe when buying stuff. You know, if you're buying through banks transfer, you have very little responsibility, or very little comeback, I should say. Case in point, I recently bought this coin from a dealer. It's an incredible coin for my nautical collection. I love it. It is fantastic. I'm going to try and get all of my nautical coins out from my security deposit box in the next couple of days and maybe do a video on this and the series. It's a stunning piece, but I was buying from a brand new brand new business, I should say, that I've never bought from before. And so I elected to pay through PayPal on what is a large purchase of gold. I decided that the extra cost it would be for PayPal, which was I think about €50, was well worth it for me because I didn't want to be ripped off. I didn't want this to not arrive and then be left with a complete, you know, hole in my bank account and not a leg to stand on. PayPal offers this service. It's an expensive thing to do with PayPal because the rates and exchange rates are crap, but it's still a worthwhile thing to do. So definitely worth thinking about on that front. But yeah, we have a lot to say on this topic, and I know a lot of people out there in comment land on YouTube also have a lot to say. So please feel free to share what you think down below in this video. If you are a backyard bullion rambler and you've listened to the back end of the video, then thank you. And you know what to do. It's a serial number bar time again. So let me know. For those that I got a few comments from people who were like, oh, we can't see the video because we listen to it as a podcast. Here you go. I'll read it out for you. It's R008794. Comment down in the comment section with that serial number, and then I'll know that you are a backyard bullion rambler who's been listening to the 17th minute of my video. There we go. Thank you very much, everybody, especially to the Cool Kids Club members who are super special, extra cool for watching our videos. Here's a little heads up for the weekend. In fact, the post is now live over on the Silver Forum, but dropping silver bars everywhere. That's not good. But our 100-gram Silver Forum bars are now published. They are up on the Silver Forum. I say up on the Silver Forum. You can get in touch either directly or on the Silver Forum to reserve your bars if you've got previous years, or put yourself on the waiting list if you'd like to get one. They are my flagship product and I love them. They are fantastic, and that's the wrong order. There we go. They are beautiful and they are now available. So go and check them out if interested. But there's a big video coming on Sunday showing all 175 of these bars in their glory. It's a real pleasure to do that and work with the Silver Forum. So thank you to the Backyard Bullion members and the Cool Kids Clubs. If you want to go and support our channel, even more so than watching to What Are We Now? The 18th minute of our video, 19 with the intro. Thanks all, I'm done now. Thanks for watching, we'll see you on the next one. As always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.